Today on our 2011 Jeep Grand Cherokee, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Roadmaster EZ4 base plate kit, part number RM-521440-4. This is what our base plate looks like when it's installed. This is going to offer you the safety of towing your vehicle behind your RV when you're traveling. It offers a nice clean look when not in use. It's nice and tucked in the bumper fascia, doesn't stick out too far. It also has a black powder coat finish to resist any rusting or corrosion. When it comes time to use your base plate, when you're getting ready to tow, you simply take your removable arms, pull your pin, slide it into place, twist it until it locks in. To release it, simply pull the ring, twist, slide them out. These removable arms can be used with most tow bars and in conjunction with Roadmaster's Quick Link Disconnect. It's also going to have safety chain rings here for when you're completely hooked up. It's also going to have a bracket for any of your tow bar wiring. Now, as far as the installation, it is a little time consuming, however it is fairly easy. Now let's show you how we got it done. But you're going to have two rivets that are holding this trim panel piece in. We're going to have to drill them out. We'll take a small drill bit, and you're going to drill out the center. You're going to have one there, and you're going to have one down here. Then you can take a trim panel tool. You can use a flathead screwdriver too. And you just want to pry it out until that comes loose. We'll do the same thing on this one. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side of the vehicle. And you'll slowly start to pull this out away from the vehicle. And then right up here at the top, you're going to have a 10mm bolt you need to remove. We'll use a 10mm socket to do that. Once you got that, you can see that the top part of this is loose. We're going to have 3 10mm bolts to run across the underneath of the vehicle. We're going to need to remove those. After you remove those, you're going to have one plastic fastener. Just going to use a flathead screwdriver and pull out the center like this. We're going to go ahead and pop out that cord also. You're going to have 2 small bolts right back here. They're going to be 13mm. We're going to start by using a wrench to at least loosen them first if you're going to use power tools on them. We don't want them to cross thread. Once you have them loose, you can use power tool to remove them the rest of the way. Next, we're going to have a 10mm bolt right over here on the side that's holding this in place. Go ahead and remove that. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side of the vehicle. We see this small piece right here, this deflector. There's going to be 4 plastic fasteners that run across the underneath of it. We need to remove those so we can take this off. Again, we'll use a flathead screwdriver. So once you get the centers out, because of where they're at, use a trim panel tool or bigger screwdriver to get them out the rest of the way. You're going to have a twist fastener. You're just going to turn it counterclockwise. We're going to pull it out. We're going to do the same thing on the other side of the vehicle. Next, we're going to kind of pry down on this piece of metal here underneath the vehicle. We're going to slide this plastic piece back and pull it out. Like that. You're going to have 3 more of your twist fasteners to take out from the bottom of the fascia. Again, we'll just turn counterclockwise and pull out. So the next thing we're going to do with the next set of hands, we're going to start removing our bumper fascia. Now we're going to start from the outside and move our way to the center. Before doing that, right across the top, you're going to have little clips that clip into the top here. We're just going to pull up on them. just to get them loose. We're going to pull out toward the tire and then out away from the vehicle. Now you're going to have wires that run to your fog lights. You want to make sure that you remove those. On the back side here, there's a push tab. You push in, pull out, you can remove the wire. Our next step after that is going to be removing our tow hook. There's a big bolt on the back side. We're going to spray it down with some lubricant while we take this off to let it sit and soak in. Then we're going to have 2 bolts underneath the tow hook. Go ahead and spray those also. Now we'll go ahead and let that soak in while we take the deflector off. Next we'll use a 10mm socket. You're going to have 3 bolts that hold it on. Next we'll take a 30mm socket. Remove this nut here on the back of our tow hook. You're going to do that same thing on the other side of the vehicle. Take a 16mm socket, remove our 2 bolts from underneath the tow hook. You're going to do that same thing on the other side of the vehicle. Next thing we need to do is we're going to have 2 16mm bolts. We need to remove those so we can remove our tow hook bracket. Again, I'm going to spray it down with some lubricant. Do the same thing to the other side of the vehicle. Next, you're going to have 2 coolant lines here that are running on the driver's side of the vehicle. We're going to use a zip tie, it comes in the kit, to pinch those together. Give us a little extra room. We'll take some wire cutters and cut off our excess. We're going to have a 13mm bolt on each side of the vehicle. This is the bolt going into our core support. We're going to remove that. We're going to be using a 13mm socket. We're going to do that same thing on the other side of the vehicle. Next, we're going to put our main bracket in place. It's going to be going in right here. I'll go ahead and put red Loctite on all of our hardware. If you don't have any red Loctite, you can find it on our website. We have long bolts in our kit. These bolts are going to go up from the bottom into our frame. We're going to put a lock washer on first, and we're going to follow that with a flat washer. So we'll go up through our main bracket, thread it into place. And we're going to do the same thing on the back hole. The bolt that we removed from our bumper core, or from our core over here on this side, we're actually going to be putting that back in. And then one of our bolts that we removed from our tow hook, we're going to reinstalling that. Next, we'll tighten down our hardware. These 2 bolts here are going to be 17mm socket. We'll use a 16mm socket on this one. We'll use a 13mm socket on this one. And we're going to do that same process on the other side. This inside hole on this bracket, we need to drill a 1/2-inch hole up through the bumper beam. Because the bumper beam is kind of angled, the drill bit likes to walk, so we're going to use a punch and make us a little indention in there. Next, we're going to take a small drill bit. We're going to be opening this hole up to a 1/2 inch. We're going to take a small drill bit and drill us a pilot hole first. Next, we'll take our 1/2-inch drill bit and open the hole to the correct size. Next, I'm going to take my 1/2-inch bolt. I'm going to test fit it to make sure it goes through the hole clean. So now we know it fits. We're going to do that same thing to the other side of the vehicle. I'm going to take a little bit of spray paint. I'm going to spray the metal to help keep it from corroding or rusting. We're going to have a handle nut. Now you can try to get it in this way if you want. You will get it over the hole. What I suggest is bending it straight. Slide it in from the end like this. You can get it lined up right with the hole. Next, we're going to take one of these large spacers and you're going to slide it in like this, in between our bracket and the bumper beam. And we're going to take one of our large bolts, put on a lock washer, and you're going to file that with a flat washer. Again, Loctite on all of our hardware. Then we're going to take our cross piece here. Now, if you're not installing any wiring or anything like that, this won't be necessary. We're going to go ahead and put this in. This is going to go on the bottom of your brackets. Now, it might be easier if you have an extra set of hands to help hold this bracket up. So, you take this bolt, go all the way up through the hole and into our handle nut. And you're going to do that same thing on the other side. Next, we'll take a 19mm socket and tighten that bolt up. Once you have all of your hardware installed, we're going to torque it down to the specifications and the instructions. Once you have all of your hardware torqued down, we're going to go ahead and cut off the ends of these with some tin snips. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our air deflectors and we're just going to eyeball them, line them up with the holes on the top. We're going to have to do a little bit of trimming. You see where our bracket touches here? And then we're going to cut that out. I'm just going to use a utility knife to cut it. You can use a Dremel tool with a cutting blade. You see there? Now we can reinstall our bolts. You're going to do that same thing on the other side of the vehicle. Now the next set of hands will put our fascia back in place. Before doing so, you want to make sure you hook your fog lights back up. You're just going to take your plug, push it in until you hear it click. Now when we're putting our fascia back in, this time we're going to start in the center and work our way out to the outside. Once you have your fascia installed, we're going to go ahead and put everything back in reverse order, the way we took it out. You're going to have a couple of plastic ribbets that come in your kit. You're going to have 2 for your driver's side, 2 for your passenger side. If you don't have a plastic ribbet setter, you can probably rent one, but you can pick them up fairly cheap. We're going to place it in the hole. Tight. And normally your rivet tool will cut that end off. I think the cutter in here might be broken, so I'm just going to use a pair of wire cutters. We'll just cut off the ends. That'll do it for a look at and installation on the Roadmaster EZ4 base plate kit, part number RM-521-440-4 on our 2011 Jeep Grand Cherokee.